and going, we're going to wait for a couple of minutes for people to join in, etc. Uh, but anyways, we were discussing AI and how crazy, how good Anthropic is. It's incredible. It's just incredible. Everybody's an engineer.
Totally.
It is. It is. Yeah. It's not just engineering, but also like we have all these small internal tools for working in internal operations.
Mm.
Usually, you'd have to stop a developer from working on the plugin. Now it's just like, yeah, 2 hours, 3 hours, and you have something that you need basically without interrupting the actual developers.
I know.
Our
It is
team
good.
is constantly building like small apps to solve pain
Yep.
points or things that are manual or they actually couldn't do before. And it's really cool. Like first, the way I approach it is, what do I hate doing? Okay, now how can I get AI to do it for me? But also, we're always better at what we love doing. If we hate doing something, then we're not like happy to do it. We don't necessarily do so well. And also, I don't know about you, but I'll procrastinate. So if AI can do that, then yeah, and it's really great it's like we're building our own teams or assistants and
True.
abilities. It's really fun.
Yeah. To all of people, everybody who's joining in, we're going to officially start in like a minute or so. We are just discussing some Claude and AI and vibe coding, etc. Just
Because what else would we
catching.
talk about these days?
And
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Almost everyone is talking about it.
It's like the only topics. Like, hi, how you doing? How's the weather? Anyway, how's AI going for you?
yeah, I think it's like, remember that game Need for Speed? I think it's still there, right? Need for Speed. It's
Yeah.
like I've got that video game controller in my hand again, because it's truly like that. It's like a video game, which I've got Claude Code. It's just like that. It is incredible. Imagination is the limit. Like, I'm helping my dad also with the project. Like, he's been asking for several years. And I said, Dad, give me a challenge. I went on Slack today this morning, and I was building something for my team. I deployed something over the weekend. I said, give me a challenge. This is easy, 45 minutes and be done. So I swear, like, I just send screenshots, challenge me. Okay. But anyways,
Where are you deploying your Claude Code apps to?
Vercel or Netlify.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm just curious.
But hosting, we should discuss that. Elementor is doing hosting, Pressable is there, WP Cloud is there, and now is the rise of AI. So we'll discuss that too.
It's all of these infrastructures are like in many ways the winners in this game, right?
Yep.
The tokens, the AI credits, AWS, and then also Vercel, companies like Vercel and Netlify who are capturing the deployed apps.
It's anyways, let's get going. Akshay Kumar, can you play a message from our Cloudways who's supporting this, by the way, today?
That's nice.
This stage is proudly supported by Cloudways. Cloudways now runs on a new and improved hosting stack, built for blazing fast speed and performance across all servers. You can host multiple sites on a single server with the flexibility to scale as you grow. With transparent pay-as-you-go pricing, you only pay for what you use. And their 24/7 award-winning support is always there when you need it. Use coupon code CloudHawk25 to get 25% off your first invoice. Visit cloudways.com to get started.
Thank you, Akshay. By the way, to all of my viewers, I must say I'm a customer of everybody who's here in front of me. I kid you not. Okay, Jesse, Robert, Miriam. Okay, I'm very happy to apply my credit card to all of your softwares.
Well, thank you for your business.
Thank you for your business. Yeah.
To quickly introduce everybody here, Jesse Friedman leads WP Cloud at Automattic, working at the infrastructure layer of WordPress for millions of users. He operates where platform reliability, innovation, and large-scale security meet. If something impacts WordPress at serious scale, Jesse sees it. Miriam Schwab, Elementor. She leads WordPress relations at Elementor, powering a massive portion of the web. With experience as both as a founder and ecosystem leader, she brings a practical lens to security at scale. Robert is the founder of Melapress and a longtime WordPress security specialist. From cleaning hack sites to building security and activity log tools used globally, he's deeply focused on visibility and control. I welcome you all to the stage. I've got some very, very cool topics of discussion and questions which I did not share with you all. So I'm going to bring them up one by one. So let's start with something very exciting and spicy, okay? Is AI making WordPress security better or making attackers smarter? Robert, why don't you start with this one?
Yes.
What do you think?
I think at the moment it's most probably making attackers better. It feels like even before AI, attackers always have are always a step ahead of everyone, kind of thing. But yeah, I think in the long run, of course, AI will help us. Will help the WordPress ecosystem, both product developers, WordPress core in general, and other products move much faster and hopefully address things, test things in a much better way, more comprehensive way, etc. But at the moment, yeah, attackers are much faster and smarter, definitely. But hopefully, AI will help the whole ecosystem, everyone who's involved, start catching up and address those issues more quickly.
Got it. What about you, Jesse? What do you think?
I think it's interesting. I think when we look at social engineering, for example, AI is going to play a big part in that. For a long time, I think the most experienced of us can spot a phishing email, right? We've all been poked or prodded by something like that in the past, and you hope that you can, decipher it or understand that it's some kind of spam or a hacker or something like that. I think, oddly enough, AI is going to play a role in helping people to be able to phish a little bit better. To be able to act a little bit more human, increase the frequency of those types of things, translate languages even better. But at the other side of it too, I think there is a balance because AI is going to play a huge role in identifying vulnerabilities across plugins. It's going to help with hardening sites and infrastructure. It's going to be, playing into firewall rules and things like that to help, increase the hardening of your infrastructure, your site, all that stuff. So I think it's going to play both sides, and I think we just need to be really diligent in making sure that we're keeping up with what hackers are doing.
Agreed. What about you, Miriam? What do you think?
Security is always like a cat and mouse kind of game where the hackers get better and then the protections get better, then the hackers get better and the protectors get better. And AI is in all of our hands, both the malicious actors and those of us trying to protect our apps. So I think it will continue to be that way in this world of AI. It's just at a different scale. In terms of WordPress, so I think, what we always said about WordPress is that it gives everyone the ability to run a website, but doesn't mean that everyone knows how to maintain a secure website, right? Because it's so easy to get up and running with a website. So it's very easy to end up with a site that's running outdated plugins or has other security issues. And now with AI, if we're all just going to vibe code our way to whatever, then it means that a lot of people are creating AI solutions for everything, including WordPress, that probably has security issues. I just saw a stat. I don't remember the percentage, but there's some percentage of all vibe coded apps that has security issues. It's quite a high number. AI will correct itself. So I mentioned before we got online that I'm creating this app. I'm like obsessed with this app because I'm having so much fun building it, not because of what it does. And I connected it to Claude's API key. But what it did was it put the API key on the front end. And I was like, that doesn't seem like a great idea. And they was like, oh, you're right. That's not. So let's do that a different way. But like, if you don't know to ask the questions and point out issues, and I don't even know what's exactly going on behind the scenes, then you're putting stuff out there that can have issues. So people who are vibe coding, all of us newfound developers will need to start adding security processes to our work to make sure that what we're putting out there is secure, and also if we're doing that for WordPress, in my opinion.
Good point. Good point. I think AI is going to sort out a lot of things, but hackers, well, they're having the time of their lives also. It's as simple as that. That's my take in it right now.
I'd love to add one quick thing to what Miriam said, because Miriam, you touched on something that's been top of mind for me for 15 years, which is that WordPress came out, and when it first started, it was complicated enough that you had to have enough technical experience to understand how to install it, right? You needed FTP access, you needed to understand how a server worked. You download files, you upload them. Then the 5-minute install came out. Then hosts just started bundling it, and we reduced the barrier of entry to WordPress dramatically, but we didn't increase the control over the security and the hardening of all those things, and we left a lot of that control with the users. And I think, in talking to a lot of hosting companies, they feel very strongly that they want to have WordPress be something that's as limitless as possible, allow people to have control, allow people to do whatever it is that they want to do with it. And then they run into issues where they're expecting this control to be managed by the end user. And if they don't understand security, the biggest thing I ran into when I was running Brew Protect was, or, you know, starting Brew Protect, was that customers didn't know what they didn't know. And so they didn't know that their site was vulnerable, because why would anybody want to hack my, you know, mom and pop shop, right? Or whatever.
Mm.
And the reason is because, you know, they don't care, indiscriminately going after these sites. So I think one thing that AI can really help with here is like jumping into aiding and like helping customers to understand what it is that they're missing. And if we do that right, then we can relinquish that control from those users and give it back to the host or the AI or whatever to harden those things and take the burden off of them. I think that's where we kind of struggle a little bit, is we're at that intersection where we want to give control to end customers, but we also, you know, we need to make sure that they're taking certain measures, and it creates an imbalance.
Good
Yeah,
point.
there's that certain. I've always said that WordPress' strongest point, which is democratizing the web, allowing people to easily create a website, is also its Achilles heels, because then the average Joe who works something non-technical at all, can start their own website, which is fine. However, they have absolutely no experience what it takes to maintain a website, because you can build the website easily, but maintaining it is a different story. And I agree with Jesse here that hopefully AI can start helping in that area. And yeah,
On that point,
Well, yeah.
on that point, there's a very good point also here, and very good point. If you had to give one technical security habit every site owner should adopt, what would it be? Miriam, you were about to say something. Maybe you can join in with that.
Well, I don't know if it exactly answers this, but so I also would always say something like really about plugins, that plugins are one of WordPress's greatest strengths and probably contributed a lot to its growth over these years. But also it is its greatest weakness, because first of all, anyone could create a plugin, and the plugin review team can only do so much to make sure that they're secure all the time, right? And also users can just install whatever they want very easily, which gives them a lot of power, but it also creates a weak point. But maybe you just made me think of that because you mentioned democratizing publishing. Maybe AI is the next step in democratizing publishing, meaning WordPress democratized putting yourself online and made it very accessible to everyone. But the technicalities around the site, which are required because it's an open source piece of software that you install, just weren't available to everyone. But now you don't actually have to be an expert in security, theoretically, performance, all this kind of stuff. We're going to get to a point where AI agents can theoretically, and maybe already, take care of that for you, which is the next stage of democratizing your open source online presence, because you can sleep at night and not have to worry about those things. So that was just my thought, continuing your other thoughts.
Absolutely.
Good point. Good point. So let's discuss this on that point. And I will attach to that what you just said, okay? Because AI can sort out security. So if you had to give one technical security habit every site owner should adopt, what should it be? Now, before you all jump into this, you can tell Claude. Now you can connect Claude with WordPress. Thank you, Jesse, and your team to do all of that, you know? So yeah, Claude, my website is hacked. So Melapress is there. This is there. This is there. Sort it out for me. So I don't know. What advice would you give, guys?
Mine would be a
Maybe-
philosophical one, I think. You know, touching on what we discussed earlier. You know, people will leave their house unlocked, right? If they live in a really good neighborhood and they're not worried about crime in that area. And I think a lot of times people think about the same thing with their website, because they just assume that they're going to fly under the radar. They're not some big conglomerate. They're not some big organization where they feel like they're going to be hacked regularly. And so they feel like they're in a good neighborhood. The reality of the situation is that WordPress is only as secure as you make it. And if you're leaving that door unlocked, you might as well just be inviting in some negative forces. So, just always, I don't want people to live in a state of paranoia, but I do want them to have like a very basic level of paranoia, enough to create strong passwords, two-factor authentication, check your plugins, use AI to run scans and get security plugins, get an activity log, Melapress, Jetpack, whatever. An activity log is really powerful because it shows you everything that's going on with your site. So if something got installed by accident or by someone else, these are all things that can help you to monitor and kind of feel secure, but not feel scared or full of fear all the time.
You're
Are you
muted.
on mute? Gautam.
What would you say, Robert?
It's along the same lines as what Jesse said. It's like take care of the basics. If you look at all the reports for the last few years about security, the two most common issues with WordPress websites getting hacked are user problems, as in like weak passwords, not FHA, the usual stuff, account hijacking, etc., and exploiting vulnerabilities in outdated software plugins, basically. So yeah, as long as you take care of the basics, like use a strong password, use 2FA, have some sort of logging, and keep your software up to date, you are way ahead of most attacks. By far. Those two things, software up to date, plugins, whatever. Not just plugins, by the way. This applies also to laptops, to everything you're running. Just keep everything up to date. And yeah, have some basic authentication hygiene credentials. Like, don't try it. I mean, like just a few months ago, I went to WordCamp Netherlands, which is funny because like you were at WordCamp, I checked in at this hotel, which was not a small hotel, like a big reception desk, 6 people. And each monitor has this sticker with username and password, same username and password for all of them. Like, there are still these things that happen. We go to hotels with this sticker out on the monitor, username, blah, blah. Yeah, those basic stuff. We're still far behind when it comes to those basic stuff. And if we take care of just those two, yeah, there is a lot you can do in terms of security and distribution of traffic and security and firewalls. But if we take care of those two, for the average website, you'll be way, way much better off.
Yep. Miriam, before you say anything, I want to remind you, which you educated me on, that Elementor is now installed on 35% of WordPress websites. You guys have a massive responsibility on your shoulders. So what do you think?
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that's why we have a lot of security procedures in place before, during, and after we deploy our plugin to the millions. It's like over 20 million installs now or something like that. Wow. So it's very scary. But with regards to what is used like a WordPress site owner should do, so I totally agree with what Jesse and Robert said. It's kind of the basics. Like, hacking sounds fancy, but unless you're like the White House website, they're like, hackers aren't going to make a big effort to hack your site. They're looking for the easy wins, just scanning for like known stuff and like stupid passwords like admin 1234. But if they can't get in, they move on. So like, take care. You're not that interesting. Yes, you're interesting. They can use your site and abuse it. And so there is value in them to trying, but like, they're not going to sit there like in a dark room with their hoodie, trying to get to your site.
That's a great way to balance that fear part, Miriam, because you're right.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, they're passively kind of going out and trying and knocking on all these doors to see if they're unlocked. Yeah, exactly.
Next, until they get into something. It's like a very large funnel, and at some point they're going to have success. But if you have your door locked, they're going to move on, unless you're the White House. Yeah. Then really take care of yourself.
Yeah, somebody wants to really get in, no matter what, at what the cost, or Claude, I want to get into this website. What's the best way to attack and hack? I don't know.
Right, but like most of us aren't that interesting.
I know. I'm just telling. It is crazy. But again, we'll come to that. There's a very cool question in the chat. I want to show you here today. What are your thoughts on ways to decrease spam? Based on the CrowdStrike 2026 Global Threat Report, I didn't know about this. Spam is up 141% in 2025. This question is from Thomas Reeve. We watch your website. His episode is going to be live soon, by the way. So who wants to take this one?
Kismet, baby. I'm just going to plug their product.
I'm just going to sit back and let y'all talk about Kismet.
It's always from day one when like spam started to be an issue. Kismet was the answer. And but the other answer is, if you don't need forms on your site, let's say comments, just don't, like, make sure you don't have comment forms. And if you have a contact form, then like, usually if you're using like one of the commercial ones, it has anti-spam functionality built in, but a Kismet is great.
I'll add one thing to that, because a lot of people don't actually know this, but a Kismet actually protects contact form spam. It actually removes the need for CAPTCHA, and we've seen like a huge increase in conversion because of the lack of CAPTCHA. As powerful as CAPTCHA is at blocking spam, it's also super powerful at blocking people from actually filling it out. I mean, we're all tired of trying to identify the traffic lights and those grids and the cars and boats and motorcycles. And one time I got one that was like, identify the motorcycles, and I see this picture of a Vespa, and I'm like, I know that's not a motorcycle. And like, now I'm not filling out this form, I'm filling out like this puzzle, trying to figure out, and all I want to do is tell this company to call me But Akismet actually blocks that. So, I think, and I think AI is one of those areas where Akismet's going to really thrive, because as AI gets smarter, again, with the way in which they're writing content and trying to spoof people, I think we can get just as smart, if not smarter, at identifying that and identifying those vectors and then blocking them. So definitely get some kind of anti-spam. Akismet, I'm a big fan of it. I work for Automattic, so of course I'm going to be promoting that one. But really, take a look. It's one of the flagship anti-spam products out there.
Yep. And here's a fun one. Okay, should plugins be allowed in enterprise environments, or are they a liability? This was a very good question, and I actually amplified it a little bit. And I just want to add the headless element to this also. So, when it comes to enterprise development, and I noticed that a lot of people now are experimenting more and more with headless. People can certainly, even me, like Next.js, Astro framework, the best frameworks in the whole world you can use with headless WordPress setups. Okay, so what about plugins? What should plugins, even basic SEO plugins, etc., be? Are they relevant? Should they be allowed? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's a question of if allowed or not. I mean, you cannot put all the plugins in the same bag. And on the repo, there are now 6,000, I think, plugins. And last time,
60,000.
Yeah, because of our plugins ranking, I was looking at where we rank and stuff like that. And actually, only a very small percentage have more than 10,000 installs. The rest, like as Miriam said, anyone could develop a plugin, but you cannot compare, a company like us, Automattic or Elementor, who like have certain procedures in place. We already sell to enterprises and take things seriously, to a hobbyist 14-year-old who Vibecoded something and put it on the repo. So there's a big difference there, So it's not like, I wouldn't say should plugins be allowed in enterprise. I would say like maybe should there be more, I don't know, guidance, or maybe some sort of enterprise program for
VIP plugins like WordPress VIP,
whatever. Yeah, but quite frankly, like this is when you buy something, not just plugins, everything else online, or even in reality. You always, if you're going to buy a pair of shoes, you're going to read, which shoes is better, how much I'm going to use, etc. The plugins is the same. You cannot just go randomly find a plugin, buy and say, then and it had some issues, then all the plugins are bad, So people need to do also their homework and do some research, some basic stuff. You don't need to do a lot. Just check the reviews, how many downloads they have, what people say about them online. It's some basic stuff. I'm sure people do the same when they're trying to buy a pair of shoes, new television, new camera, new mobile.
Yeah, I mean, to extend that home and neighborhood metaphor, back in the day when we had the yellow pages, I'm dating myself. Yeah. You could find someone to provide a service to you, like a plumber or a house cleaner or something like that, right? And you'd have to do a little bit of due diligence to make sure that they were a trustworthy company and things like that. If you are inviting any plugin into your home, right, it's the same as just like inviting someone off the street just because they say that they offer some service. Like, you need to do some due diligence. You need to understand the brand. You need to understand who's behind it. And not to disparage anyone who builds plugins. I myself was a plugin author with just one plugin out there, and I ran it, but I was a single developer with no like team behind it. When you look at a company like Elementor or Automattic or anyone else who has like a team of support people, a security team, others who are working on these things regularly, it adds and builds a lot of trust. But at the end of the day, there is no single answer to this problem. You can't bucket, as Robert said, you can't put all the plugins in the same place. You have to build a strategy that's right for your customer. So even taking the term enterprise, like I would even break that down even further. Like if you have, and if you're thinking about headless, or, maybe thinking about calling it decoupled WordPress, if that's the term we want to use, there's multiple reasons to do that, for performance, security, other things, but it's not right for everybody. And I don't think there is a single answer to that problem. I think you need to evaluate each client based on the strategy that you're defining with them to help them understand their security risks and how much they want to do in terms of an investment in making sure that their site is secure. As Miriam said, like, if you're running a small, mom and pop shop or blog or whatever, people are going to be, trying the door handles on your car and seeing if it's unlocked. If you're running whitehouse.gov, of course you're going to need increased security and do a lot more with that. So I think the answer is a case by case basis.
Yeah.
So I'll just add that I think there's like a misconception a bit about plugins, and I'll explain what I mean. If you're running an enterprise site, and again, Jesse's totally right. What is an enterprise site? It has so many flavors. So, but let's say it's a company that has a website, and that website is an important part of their business workflow. It's for their brand, it's for lead generation, it's for marketing, whatever. It might even have some applicative types of capabilities. Whether you use plugins or not, that stuff was developed into your WordPress site. Plugins are just another form of code. If that code that was developed to create those extra capabilities in your site has vulnerabilities, then you're in trouble also. So meaning a plugin or code in your WordPress site can be secure and can be not secure. You can create that extra capabilities by installing a plugin, or you can create yourself, and both can have issues or be fine. So like they said, just check the plugins that you're using, make sure they're reliable, check the last updated date and how many installs it has. Those are pretty good indicators of if it's a reliable plugin. And then once your site is running, it's never set it and forget it, and keep an eye on it. But it's not like plugins or no plugins. I know of very big sites that are running with plugins, including Elementor, and it's fine because they run professionally and responsibly.
Yep, absolutely. We make Elementor websites also at all shapes and sizes, by the way. So I know I know what you are saying, by the way. But I think some plugins, for example, something as simple as SMTP, I don't know, it's one of my favorite subjects because we get a lot of maintenance customers, and whenever we attach a website, 80% don't get emails. The contact forms are not working. Enterprise or not, or medium or small, large size, that's what I would say. Like something as essential as SMTP, like sure, that should be a default. I don't know if that can happen or not. It will just make the whole WordPress ecosystem a much more beautiful place. Something for Jesse to pitch it back to his colleagues after this show. But anyway, on to the next one. This is from me actually, and because it's a curiosity. When you're protecting millions of sites, what changes? Okay, I know this answer from a lot of people. I was with Oliver Patchstack in one of the panels also. I was talking to Igor from Cloud Linux, a lot of other people. Okay, but when you're protecting millions of sites, what changes? Would love to hear your perspectives individually. Jesse, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one thing that is making life a lot easier for my team is that WP Cloud, that powers a variety of different hosting companies, is 100% WordPress first, right? It's a cloud platform that is 100% WordPress focused. And so that makes it a whole lot easier to manage the spectrum of security issues. The other thing that it's going for is that we keep everything fully managed and force updates at a certain rate or cadence. And so we work with our hosting partners to work with their clients to make sure that everybody's feeling good about it. We do things like canary sites to test the updates of PHP, plugins, WordPress core, whatever it might be, and test that against the most used configurations across those hosting companies. And that allows for us to find issues with updating ahead of time. And then we have instant rollbacks. So, I think when we look at it from that perspective of, managing millions of sites, a lot of it is about keeping things up to date and hardened. When I talk to hosting companies, I talk to hosting companies all over the world. Some of the things that they really struggle with is forcing their customers to be comfortable with updates. Miriam mentioned the term earlier, set it and forget it. You'd be surprised how many, especially in the shared hosting space, how many customers build a WordPress website, and then don't touch it ever again because they're terrified of making a change. And I think one thing that's really important here is education. We can't amplify the importance of education, because the thing that you run into is that WordPress is fully extensible. It has all these options. You can do anything you want. And then you end up with these customers who have to then learn how to use WordPress. And I think that WordPress developers, plugin developers, core developers, we sometimes have it in our mind that because we're so passionate about WordPress and we love the community and we love using WordPress, that our end customers tend to think the same way. But the reality of the situation is that WordPress is often just a means to an end, and it's software no different than their tax software or other things that they have to use just to get something up and going. And when that happens, they momentarily become a web designer and they learn these skills and they build up these things, that skill set, and then they launch their website and maybe they don't return to it for 3 months. If you don't return to WordPress in 3 months after just having spent like a few weeks learning it enough to build a website, all of that knowledge is pretty much gone. So it's incredibly scary and intimidating to have to go back and understand, why do I have to update WordPress? Why do I have to update these plugins? PHP came out with a new version. Why do I want to move to that? So, I think one of the better things that hosting companies can do is to identify early the technical experience of their customers and take more control on their behalf to keep things up to date, keep things running, because that is how you keep WordPress as hardened as possible.
Yep. Your takes, Miriam, Robert?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Miriam. Go ahead.
Okay. So we're not exactly, I guess we are, but like, I don't see it as protecting millions of sites, but we're protecting them by ensuring the code is secure. So what that means for us is having in place processes before we release code of extensive and thorough testing as much as possible. But also because WordPress is so diverse, and I describe every WordPress site as like a snowflake. None of them have the same configuration. Something's different. A different theme, a different plugin, a different version of PHP, I don't know what, different hosting provider, different whatever. So, you can test as much as you want, but, it is possible to miss things. So you have to have in place workflows, processes to deal with vulnerabilities that are discovered in the existing code base. So we have a bug bounty program for that. So for responsible disclosure, and we do that in partnership with PatchStack. We're in their MVDP program. So generally, if there's some kind of security issue with our products, they're reported to us responsibly. We can take care of it in a timely fashion, release a security update, and then that issue gets publicized. But then people have an immediate update they can make. So all of that from like start to fit, like pre-production, post-production, a quick turnaround on security issues, particularly if they're highly critical. That's where we, I think, mostly come into play in terms of protecting millions of sites.
And now,
with one site.
And now you launched Elementor 1 with a lot of noise. Congratulations to the entire Elementor team. I played with it. It's pretty awesome. I must say, it's pretty awesome.
Okay, that's good.
So when it comes to millions, well, it's crazy that you have to even go even more advanced, because you are.
It is crazy because we have like Elementor and Elementor Pro. But then we also have these other plugins that all have, some of them have gotten pretty high engagement. We have this image optimizer. So like you add all that together, a lot of those sites aren't necessarily Elementor. So like all of that together, it's a wide.
Yeah, no pressure, Miriam. Somebody said in the chat.
We're all totally sleep. Thank goodness it's not my responsibility. I sleep well at night.
Robert, you've had, I must say, Robert, you've had phenomenal growth with your installs over the past several years. I think you launched in 2020, right? 2020, 2021, if I remember.
Officially, 2019, 2020.
Yeah, so you've seen incredible growth in very few years. So what do you think? Because when you started out, I remember, it must be like 500 or 1,000 people using your plugins, and suddenly hundreds of thousands. So what changed for you?
Yeah. First of all, we like Elementor, as in like we don't protect websites ourselves. We build plugins like the activity log to help people protect their websites, and 2FA, which does protect websites, but it's more that the users have to install it. I think what's very important is, I agree first of all with Jesse said, user education is really, really important. Users don't know what's available and what's not. But it comes to, we work with a lot of agencies and we speak to a lot of agencies. And one thing, again, this kind of like continues with what we're discussing about plugins. The more you can standardize processes and have processes in place, the more the better you are. For example, I know most agencies, especially bigger ones, don't just install any plugin on any website, etc. So they have a stack of plugins that they always use because, of course, they have proven they've been working with them for the last 5-10 years. They know they work on every website. When they onboard a new website, they have certain requirements, or they apply certain changes, etc. So yes. So by having good processes in place, both if you're a vendor like all of us here, basically. But also if you are a service or an agency, having processes in place, clear directions, what everyone should do, etc. That's very important. And second, yes, educating users is also extremely important, because you'd be surprised, even just I mean, all of us receive these emails occasionally from our banks. Oh, we don't send emails asking you for your bank account or stuff like that, So
Yeah.
these are providers themselves, or even agencies who have a lot of customers, they can do they can do a lot in this regards, to educate their users. Like, did you know? I go to a lot of meetups. Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people, they have no idea of auto updates yet. They have no idea of like, we're running this version of WooCommerce, I don't know, like 3-4 years old. So yeah, like it's working for us, so we never thought of touching it, So yeah,
Yeah.
people need to be educated on what can happen, and that's where we're saying the same. Like, yes, your website is not the White House, but yeah, attackers have automated scripts and they're just crawling over the internet. So it doesn't matter if you're the White House or not, because if you have an outdated version of any plugin, quite frankly, older than 1 year or 2 years, you definitely have some issues on your website. That either it's a question of when these issues will be discovered, rather, and it's not that there are no issues, it's when these issues will be discovered. So yeah, educating users and having processes in place and certain standards that you adhere to make sure there's a certain level of quality, which of course indirectly helps with security.
To touch on that at scale, then, touch on that, what breaks first, code, processes, or people? I have an answer for this.
People by far, always people. It's based on my experience. It's people. Like as we're saying, like if you look at the most common issues with why website gets hacked, you have account hijacking, weak password, etc., or outdated software. Both are people issues, both of them.
Good point. I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think people and processes are almost the same.
Yeah, they all go hand in hand.
Like processes are automated.
There are people behind everything.
Yeah,
every one of these
like
things, there's a person behind it.
Missteps in a process, which can happen, then that can break the code. And yeah, people. But I guess in an AI world, we're all just gonna step aside and let the bots all battle it out, keep things running.
But
well, I think that goes to saying something though. Like even now with AI writing all this code, there's still a person behind it prompting that code. And
True.
One of the things, Miriam, you touched on way earlier was the idea that you have to know what to ask for around the prompts, and I think that anyone who's writing code with AI they have a responsibility to understand how to ask the right questions to make sure that things are secure. But at the end of the day, people are behind every single one of those things. So it's always going to be person. Even if we get to a place where AI is pumping out code automatically, there's still a person behind it, somewhere. If we get to a place where AI is building AIs, and there's multiple layers of that, well, then we can have another conversation, but we're not quite there yet.
No, even I read that Claude's last LLM was built by Claude, but that team is 4 people, meaning the people weren't completely abstracted away. They're still there, even if it's just 4 building a giant LLM that's changing the world. There's still those 4 people.
Yep.
I think it's also people. I think the education part comes to that, and I don't know, like something so simple as not having admin 123 as password, for example, is incredible. It's incredible. It's not like thousands. It's not 10,000s. It's hundreds of thousands of websites with that password. It exists, and I don't know how all of us collectively, when I say us, it's not only like 4 of us. I mean, the ones who are deeply embedded with the WordPress plugin and the hosting ecosystem, how can we sort it out? Jesse, I wonder, considering you are at Automattic, WordPress.com is there, WordPress.org is there, and you guys make crazy noise educating people about everything. How can we sort this out eventually, especially with the rise of AI, etc., and give confidence to the people that WordPress is the best CMS and it's going to remain like that for the next few decades?
Well, what's interesting is I have my own podcast, Impressive Hosting, and we had Jake Goldman from 10 Up on, and one of the things we got to talking about was real-time AI agents, and this idea that with real-time collaboration, which is coming in WordPress 7.0, AI agents can act as a user within WordPress. So instead of having to operate and utilize AI where you are currently. Like, for example, the Jetpack AI operates as a block inside the code editor. And so you can ask it to write you things and build forms and do all this other stuff. Instead, we can start to think about AI agents as actual users with role permissions that exist inside. And so then you could have Elementor's AI, Angie, as an agent inside of it with a user avatar and a name, and they can operate as your designer. You could have Yoast as the SEO agent who's focused solely on SEO. And you could have, security AI, maybe it's Jetpack, right? Like, and its job is to watch everything you're doing and comment as a user in real time and say, hey, you just installed this plugin. I saw a vulnerability. You created a new user and that password is pretty weak. There's a variety of things that it can do. And so, education is still going to be the most important thing. But the reality of the situation is that we run into a problem when hosting companies are constantly selling WordPress, right? And they're all bidding and trying to get ahead and acquire these customers. And the more you complicate WordPress, the harder it is for the entire market share, the worse it is for the ecosystem. You don't want to present WordPress as complicated, but there is a basic level of understanding of operating on the internet that you need to have to be able to responsibly run a website. And so if you get that out too early, it's complicated. If you get it out afterwards, it's a little misleading. So what I think AI could really, be great at is being a parrot on your shoulder and squawking about like literally everything that's going on with your website and informing you of the mistakes you're making, advising you on what can be done, and giving you a little bit of guidance and reassurance. One of the things that I think it could really excel at is confidence, helping customers feel confident updating their sites and installing a plugin and making a change. It'll not only improve and harden the security of that site, but it'll actually improve the loyalty to WordPress, the likelihood that they renew with that hosting company, all that stuff. So I'm really excited to see how that comes out. And then shortly after that podcast episode, James LePage actually, he tweeted an example of what that real-time agent would look like. And it's pretty remarkable. It's very cool.
But I want to ask you all then, if there's Joe's Cookies on the corner using WordPress.com or just basic Elementor or anything, doesn't have an agency, doesn't have too much of a budget, then who is actually responsible for his WordPress website security? Remember, Joe's Cookies, small mom and pop shop, like that person doesn't know. That doesn't person know what is a safe update. Okay, now that's the real audience, right? Millions and millions of people who, and yes, they're struggling, and then they come to agencies like Seahawk for maintenance and support service. But who's ultimately responsible? I asked this question in my last security panel also, and I got very, very interesting views. So at scale, for small mom and pop shops who don't understand what an SMTP is, who don't understand how to change a password and the importance of changing a password or installing 2FAs, who's going to be ultimately responsible? Is all this going to be the users? Or what's your take on it, all of you? I guess.
Well, plugins can only go so far, right? You can work to make sure your plugin code, that the latest version is as secure as possible, but you don't know that people are actually updating to the latest secure version, and you can't force them to do that. So all we can do is put secure code out there and hope for the best. And I don't think that we can put the responsibility on people. I think it's unfair to them. Their area of expertise is running their shop, let's say, but they're not ever going to be a website expert. Just like we all use SaaS products and nobody expects us to maintain them. It's very hard in this world to expect end users to also have a clue about security. So somehow we in the ecosystem need to be responsible for it. I mean, I don't think it's possible, but like WordPress itself, maybe now with AI being baked in, if a user installs WordPress and activates some kind of AI integration, then maybe there's like some kind of, I'm just dreaming, whatever, this is theoretical, there's some kind of core security function that happens, because we really should be taking it out of the hands of the users. But until that happens, unfortunately, I think a lot of the security responsibility is in the hands of the hosting providers. And over the years, I've been in WordPress for a very long time. And I remember the early days when there wasn't such a thing as managed WordPress hosting, and we would host wherever, but those hosting providers didn't know anything about securing WordPress. And like sites were being hacked left, right, and center. And there weren't proper like dividing walls. I don't know what the term is. I can't remember, between sites on shared hosting, and a hacker would hack this site and then just jump over and hack the neighboring site. And it was like a disaster. And then the hosting providers were like, well, this isn't working out well. And they started putting in place certain security, protocols to prevent these types of wide scale things from happening. Because it was making them look bad. And that continued. And so security in hosting has become much, much better and pretty comprehensive. They have WAFs in place, and because they don't want these issues. But like, maybe it's at the point where that's good enough, or it's fine enough for hosting companies, meaning, oh yeah, they're getting hacked and they're getting hacked, but it's not widespread and they're not making a lot of noise, so we can kind of live with it, and we're not really taking responsibility for it. But because that's the infrastructure of WordPress sites today, I don't know who else technically could take responsibility.
Yes, I'm with you. I think so also. I don't know, but Jesse, we'll love your take on this, and then I have a fun one for you, Robert, also.
I'm gonna tell you how we solve this. One, we need to solve the race to the bottom on pricing with hosting. Right now, that's a huge problem across the industry, and it's causing us to sacrifice things like inherent security models that are super important. We try to figure out how to get our pricing down to a few bucks a month, and as a result, we cut out backups, we cut out vulnerability scanning, we cut out all these other things. Two, we need to make the assumption that every user of WordPress has absolutely zero experience with security and opt them out of security measures. What I mean by that is that every single hosting company should create a base layer of hardening and security protocols that require no user intervention. And then if that customer is able to, now there's a variety of ways to do this, if they're able to opt out of that added control, that hand-holding, that helicopter parent type hosting, through experience, through their knowledge, through installing certain things, there's a ton of things that you can watch for to understand or create like a litmus test for their level of experience. If you're waiting to have them install these things, you're going to run into the same issue over and over again. They don't know what they don't know, so they have no knowledge that backups are important. They have no knowledge that vulnerability scanning is important. They have no knowledge of this stuff. So you have to build this in and bake it in, and then you can start to remove it if they can prove that they don't need it. And if we start to do those two things, what will happen is that the entire WordPress ecosystem will benefit, because everyone will have a better experience with WordPress. Hacking sites will be far less common. Customers will be much more loyal to their hosting companies. But the reality of the situation is, if we don't solve that pricing issue, we're going to continue to run into this. But I think, again, it comes back to education, like making sure that the hosting company is doing what they can to inform customers. So, if one of the things that we do with Jetpack is that we have these real-time messages within Jetpack that prompt customers about knowledge about what they're doing, or making suggestions about what they could do next, things like that. And we have this automated dismissal thing where we never wanted to get on anyone's nerves. We didn't want to bother people. So if they dismissed it once, it comes back in like a week. If they dismiss it again, we leave them alone. That type of thing can work very well with hosting companies. If they do something silly, they make a mistake, they install a bad plugin from a weird spot, or they, sign up a new user with a crummy password, you alert them, you let them know. If they repeatedly dismiss this, well, then you've done what you can, and you don't want to annoy them to the point where they're going to leave. But at the same time, you have a responsibility to make sure that they understand their responsibility to the internet, the open web, and their actual website.
I think, Robert, what do you say? Plugin developers, host. I think very, very fair point. I think from my perspective, it's host and plugin developers. If it's Joe's Cookies around the corner. But Robert, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everyone. I think, to be honest, the responsibility is shared between all of us, including the user. As in, like, WordPress, as a WordPress core, has the obligation to develop good software, which by the way, it's very secure at this stage, but also have some sort of as Miriam was saying, some sort of guide that can help onboard the user a bit better. Web hosts should have the same, should have some sort of protection, maybe as Jesse was saying, depending on the knowledge of the user. But us as plugin vendors or products or SaaS, whatever, also have the duty to make sure our products are easy to onboard, as easy as possible, and explain what needs to be done, etc. However, the users are also responsible. I mean, you cannot just force feed everyone, because there's a fine line that you cross. The more you impose security, there's that fine line between freedom and imposing responsibility. This is the same like running a government in a country. I mean, like there's a silver lining. If you want like a really secure place, yeah, you want the government have all the houses bugged with microphones, so everyone knows what's happening, but the total control. But no one wants that, because you want a bit of freedom as well. So there's a really fine line. How everyone should, and at the end of the day, also the user is the one who is making decisions and owning that website. This is like when a pipe breaks into your house. Now you can either get a plumber, professional one, or try to fix it yourself. Whenever I tried, it always breaks, by the way. So, but I'm not going to blame the water authority. You know, it's just there should be a good balance. Like everyone should. The responsibility is split. It's not like one specific.
There's a good message here, and I just
host
posted
or-
it. I just posted it here. WhatsApp notifications plus gamification. Simple. Simple. I don't know. Like send a WhatsApp to your customer. Your website is gonna be hacked. Click this button. Safe update. I don't know.
You have to get the you have to get the numbers first and all this. But what I mean is that it should be it's shared responsibility. There's that fine line when it comes to even security, not just about web hosts and stuff, but even like to FA, for example. You can only enforce so much. People won't like it, and they will push back. You know, so there's only so much you can do as web host, as product vendor, and users need to be to also own their own responsibility, be responsible for what they're doing as well. You know, I mean, they should find the guides available. They should find different options available, but they should also be responsible and to their share of work as well.
There's really only one company though, or one entity in that array there that has control over all aspects of it, right? Like WordPress core developers are releasing WordPress core. Plugin developers are releasing their plugin. Within that scope, of course, it's their responsibility to make sure that those things are highly secure. But the hosting company has its own infrastructure that it needs to secure. And in that, they are the only ones that actually can control core, control the plugins, control the themes, control the experience with the customer, has communication with the end customer. I think that is something that a lot of people don't necessarily pay attention to. But as a plugin developer, you don't necessarily have direct communication with your end customer. As a theme developer, as WordPress core, like WordPress core does not have direct lines of communication with every user of WordPress. The hosting company does. And so I think you're 100% right, Robert, but I think at the end of the day, the hosting company has to identify the fact that they are taking on this responsibility by taking these customers in and promising a good WordPress experience, that they have a higher level of responsibility than anyone else.
You're right. I've never saw it that way. I never even thought about it. That web hosts usually, yes, indeed, they do have direct contact with their customers, while plugin vendors, core, etc., don't have direct message.
Yeah, and I think hosts, you know, a lot of hosts, you know, are doing an incredible job with proactive efforts and information, etc. But yes, the price wars, I think, is a big issue. Like, we don't host ourselves. We just recommend. We have a directory page, and we just tell customers these are the top 5. Choose whatever you want. We recommend from here. But don't compromise on pricing. That's what I always tell to all of my customers as an agency serving hundreds and thousands of customers. And I think agency owners, whoever is listening, to all agency owners, always tell your end users, like, don't compromise on pricing. Go for the best managed WordPress out there. You know, your customers will be happy at the end of the day. You know, and proactively protected. That's what I would add on. Very proactively protected, 99% of the time. So finally, let me ask you this. So is AI going to replace parts or most of the security operations in the next 3 to 5 years? We've touched base on this a little bit, okay, already. And like Jesse just mentioned that, you know, just tell, you know, AI and sort this out. I mentioned in the beginning of this panel, like, hey, Claude, sort out my website is hacked, is vulnerable, sort this out. So what do you think in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think AI is going to take on a lot of responsibility. You know, we put in front of it. I think it's going to do a lot of the work. Do I think it's going to replace security? No, I think it'll aid in the development of hardening practices. I think it'll uncover things a lot faster. But just as the responsibility goes back to the person as the, you know, first line of defense, the first area of things to break, I think at the end of the day, human beings are going to play, you know, the most important role in security going forward, because we're not yet relinquishing, and I don't even think this will happen in the next 3 to 5 years. We're not yet relinquishing full control of every aspect of your WordPress to AI. And until we do, I don't think that there's a way for you to eliminate that human aspect, and that is not going to be fully replaced. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I think so also. I think 3 to 5 years may be tough. Maybe after 5 years, who knows? I don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 months. I don't know.
I mean, listen, after COVID, when those like 3 years blended into like, and we have no idea what happened, our time of reference was all broken, and now we're back and AI's here, and 3 months feels like 5 years. Who knows, right? Like 3 to 5 years might actually mean 3 to 5 months. But yeah, I think that we're going to need to find a balance with AI where it's an orchestra of assistance and things helping you, but you're still going to be a conductor. And as long as you're the conductor of that AI, or there's someone, a human being, conducting that orchestra, I think that it's still going to be a human being that's going to be that main point of contact.
I will just end at this part on this particular topic. Like, I don't think we are very far from Elementor or Melapress or some other companies making a statement, install us, it's impossible to get hacked. I don't think we're very far from that. I think because of AI, it is possible now, and I think no matter what kind of hosting they have, it is still possible because of the advances we are making and the speed at what the advances we are making. But let's see, 3 to 5 years, I should have just reduced that to like 6 months to 12 months, 3 to 5 years. Who knows what's going to happen?
3 to 5 years is very long nowadays. It is extremely long when it comes to these things. But I agree with Jesse here. I think the idea of like AI taking over completely is still too remote to me, as in like using it as a tool and helping us as an aid and helping us move faster, do things differently, and automate some things. Definitely, that's where it excels, quite frankly. But yeah, at least the way I see it, like humans will still be there need to be some sort of guardrails, and human needs to be responsible for these things and somehow guide AI and of course use it as a tool, but not completely take over.
Got it. We just still have some time, so we're going to bring up one small final topic. What's the most underrated security practice in all of your perspectives individually? Simple. Changing password, making it strong, changing the WP admin. Like what? What do you think?
I guess passwords. Just use not normal ones. Use ones that are complicated. That's it. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if it's underrated, but you should do that.
Yeah,
don't use the same password on multiple things.
Yeah, Miriam nailed it. When I co-founded Brute Protect, the thing that we focused on primarily was helping to prevent brute force, attacks with a cloud-powered service, right? And the reason for that was because the number one vulnerability across all of WordPress was passwords. Because, back then, WordPress does a lot better job of it now. It suggests a strong password for you. It has additional security practices on top of it, layered on top of it. But back then, it was just up to you, and you could create a password. You could create admin if you wanted to. That's allowed inside of WordPress. And so, I think that the problem with passwords is that you run into an entropy issue, which is that the harder the password, the harder it is for someone to crack, the harder it is for you to remember. And when people aren't using something like a 1Pass or Google's password thing or whatever, and you have to remember these passwords, you end up going for something a lot easier. And I'll just say this as a tip, if you're creating a password that you need to remember, create a mantra, create a passphrase, use spaces, throw in a number, and the entropy goes incredibly high. And then you're repeating the same thing over and over again. Like, it could be something like, I'm going to be positive today, 44 or something like that, right? With spaces, that entropy is incredibly high. That's a very hard password to crack. But I think the part that gets really super underrated there is the fact that we keep talking about having to change passwords and not using the same password all the time. But every single time that one of these companies that's not even related to WordPress or hosting, maybe it's Netflix or it's your insurance company or whatever, they get hacked, they dump these usernames and passwords on the internet. And if you're using the same username and password for, you know, your bank or, you know, whatever weird service that you were using that got hacked, and you're using that for your WordPress, it's not very hard to guess. And even usernames are discoverable through open practices within WordPress. So like, if you know that this site has this username or this email associated with an account, it's not that hard to go out on the internet and find whatever used passwords you had in the past. So I can't say, you know, enough. Like, WordPress core in and of itself, vanilla, before you extend it with plugins, is highly, highly secure. It's a bank vault. The only problem is if you set that password to that bank vault as 1234. That's your problem, your responsibility, and totally underrated.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Miriam nailed it. It's both Miriam and Jesse. It's passwords, and quite frankly, if you don't want to remember difficult passwords, use a password manager. There are free ones, there are paid ones, and all you need to remember is just one password, and the rest is totally
Use a
different.
combination of your mom and dad's birthdays or something like that with some one hashtag, for God's sakes, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
but-
easy as that? And that will at least make it 70% more secure, 50, 60, 70% more secure.
I just want to add one more thing, which is all the users in your site don't have to have admin level permissions.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Like,
Oh my
And even if you grant them admin level permissions, it can be temporary. Like, if if you hire an agency to help you with like a small project, like, make sure you remove them later. It's not that they're necessarily going to be malicious, but who knows? Like, maybe they hire someone down the road, maybe they get hacked. Like, a variety of things can happen. And
totally. It's
yeah,
like
you're
some
absolutely
kind of
right.
user permission and just user who has access to your site kind of hygiene. Like, every once in a while, go in and be like, oh, who is that random admin level user who I don't know anymore? Goodbye. And really, like, lowest permission levels necessary as much as possible. So just throwing that in there to the mix.
Yeah. I have a slide, by the way, in my last presentation about that. Like, admin rights are not human rights, basically, because everyone here, like.
It's a good name.
On that note, we'll end this panel. Thank you so much. I know we just come up on an hour, you know, and I think this is a very exciting discussion. We can discuss a lot more about AI and cloud and security. But, you know, like next time when we do this, let's say we do this 3 months from now again, oh, there'll be completely different topics to discuss.
We won't even be here. It'll just be AI bots representing us.
Exactly. Yeah. Automated agents for us.
Yeah.
I know. Anyways, thank you so much, Miriam. I know it's evening for you, Robert. Your evening also. Actually, it's a very sunny day today in the UK, so I'm going to just.
It was likewise the same in the Netherlands. Yes, we had 14 degrees.
16 degrees Celsius here, which is crazy. Jesse's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, I get
Exactly.
No, in Celsius right now, it's like -4 outside, under 4 feet of snow.
That's so not human.
Thank you, everybody. Wish you a great rest of your evenings. Wish you a great rest of